Reading 79 from the Psychological Commentaries on the Teachings of Gurdjieff and Ouspensky by Dr. Maurice Nicoll, Volume 1. Birdlip, July 3, 1943. Commentary on Self-Observation and Eyes. 1. As long as a man takes what he observes as himself, he cannot separate from it. It is like standing on a plank and trying to lift it. To take what you observe in yourself as yourself is to identify with it. Then you cannot change it. For a long time we are asleep to the significance of self-observation and its real goal, which is inner separation. But if everything inside, in the psychic world of yourself, to which only you have direct access, is forever turning and turning, and you take it all as yourself, you have not begun the journey to find yourself, which you lost. Let me ask you all a question. Why is it so difficult to establish a work relationship to yourself? Because everything in you is taken as one, as I. This is our strongest illusion, and day after day it defeats the action of the work upon ourselves. And, like all the many powerful illusions we live under, its object is to prevent us from awaking. Yet, what does the work which tries to awaken us say insistently about our state of being? It says that it is characterized by lack of unity, lack of oneness, by multiplicity, manyness, by many eyes instead of one big permanent eye whose gaze covers the whole field of our life. By this time, we should know practically some of the eyes in ourselves and whether we can trust what they say or not. It is very easy to fall amongst thieves who not only steal from us but harm us, leaving us almost dead, like the man who went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment and wounded him and departed, leaving him half dead. Luke 10:30. Notice he went down. Everyone has in him eyes that wish to drag him down. This is the remarkable discovery that we can make for ourselves. Namely, that we have eyes in us that, if we follow them, drag us down in regard to esoteric ideas that indeed fight against all new understanding and wish to kill us in this respect. Yet, we take ourselves quite calmly, as if there were nothing wrong with us. This means illusion. This means we have not begun to observe ourselves in the light of esoteric teaching, whether of the work or the Gospels or of any other source more ancient. It is within a man that the struggle of yes and no must begin in regard to esoteric ideas. And this means that everyone has eyes which will resist the work, resist every form of esoteric ideas, so we have to observe our trains of thought. From which eyes do they come? If you have no work relationship to yourself, you will take all your thoughts, any idle thoughts, as I, and say yes to them. How then can you work on yourself? Are you so foolish as to trust in any and every train of thought? Can you not see where work on yourself lies in regard to the sphere of thinking? Do you suppose that you yourself think your thoughts? Do you still take every personal psychic event, that is, every mood you have, every thought you have, as you yourself, as I, and give it the sanction and signature of yourself? If so, you do not understand what work on yourself means. You take yourself as one person. You are trying to do this work without even starting to do it, without even seeing where it starts. You are like some kind of dung beetle, continually rolling up masses of negative filth and storing it up in your cupboards of your mind as your personal possession. Why should you go with all your thoughts? Why believe in them when they originate in negative eyes? Why follow so intensely chain after chain of negative thinking as if it were all you, all I, myself, thinking, when you only have to wake up a little and realize that you need not take these thoughts as you, that you need not go in those directions? We spoke recently of being passive to thoughts. I assure you all, it would be useful if you would realize particularly what this means every day. I said that once you realize this part of the work practically, it is like pure magic. You suddenly wake up out of a train of evil, negative thoughts and realize you need not wallow in them. You can separate from them, as when getting out of a mire into which you sank. Yes, but who really knows this yet? If one still loves negative states before all else, one certainly will never know it. Now, you must all understand that you have many eyes in you that are against the work. If not, there would be no basis of personal work. Whatever you gain through the work is therefore individual, the result of your own struggles. If you simply accepted the work, nothing could happen. If you record all the teaching of the work in notebooks, in beautiful typing and so on, well, work for you has not yet begun. No change will take place. It is like a chemical change. A salt is made from two opposite elements. These are psychologically life and work. So you must understand that the work sets up a struggle between opposites, which grows and grows in strength, between eyes that wish to work and eyes which do not. Purely life eyes do not wish the work, and they are the cleverest eyes in us. You remember that it is said in ancient esoteric literature that the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. This refers to eyes in us. Life eyes are cleverer than work eyes. So our negative emotions and thoughts appear cleverer than anything else at first. Perhaps some of you know how very plausible some eyes can be, how they begin to advance arguments in your mind and apparently wish to assist you. Such eyes are self-justifying eyes, of which we have a great number. These eyes appear often like one's reasoning power, and like bad lawyers, they always start from something that is not quite true. Now, supposing you meet a person who tells lies. At first, you do not realize how he speaks, but after a time you become more wary, and you realize he is a liar, and you cannot trust what he says. But when we are asleep, that is, when we are taking ourselves for granted, eyes of this kind, that are inveterate liars, continually take charge of us and of our thoughts and twist them into all sorts of false patterns, false associations. This makes, as it were, a kind of mess in us, and if it goes on long enough, the whole of the mind becomes poisoned and cannot think clearly about anything. It is very necessary to see and to observe lying eyes. We have so many of them. They are continually distorting everything. But once you begin to see them, you can notice how they are weaving their material, and you need not go with them, need not believe them, need not take their inner talking as truth. And this reality is magic. You shake yourself, as it were, like a dog coming out of the water, and get rid of the whole thing instantly. You feel at peace. You feel that something has happened inside you that is quite wonderful, that you have escaped from some danger that you never realized before. Try, therefore, to see different eyes and what they say in regard to the work. That is, in regard to esoteric ideas, as distinct from life ideas. And remember that if you cannot see this struggle in yourself, if you identify with every train of thought, with every kind of inner talking, with every mood, you do not yet know what this work means practically. You will simply say, I feel negative towards the work. This means that you take yourself as one thing, one mass, which is sometimes negative, sometimes positive. In that case, you will get nowhere. It also means that you do not understand what it means to observe yourself and do not notice different eyes in yourself. In that case, you will always be identified with your state, and you will always say I to any state of yourself. How then will you realize what it means to transform your states? You will be them. You will be incapable of separating from them, so that your states and you are identified, are the same. So you are one by identifying. Everything is you. Many of you think that self-observation consists merely in noticing that you feel moody, that you feel unwell, that you feel negative, or bored, or gloomy, or depressed, and so on. Let me assure you that this is not self-observation. Self-observation begins with the establishing of observing I in your own inner world. Observing I is not identified with what it observes. When you say, I am feeling negative, you are not observing yourself. You are your state. You are identified with your state. There is nothing distinct in you that is standing outside your state, something that does not feel your state, something that is independent of it and is looking at it, something that has a quite different feeling from your state. If you say, I wish I were not negative, this is quite useless. It is I speaking the whole time. You are taking yourself as one mass. You are not dividing yourself into two, which is the beginning of work on yourself. You are not saying, why is it negative? But why am I negative? You are taking it and you as the same. Try to understand what it means to divide yourself into two, an observed side and an observing side, and try to feel the sense of I in the observing side and not in the observed side. This is the whole point. Remember that unless a man divides himself into two, he cannot move from where he is. It is like this. We are all fastened inside to wrong things which we take as ourselves, wrong thoughts, worries, etc. We take them as us. Work is to separate ourselves from them. This is the beginning of our inner freedom. This is what the work is about. If you can observe your thoughts and worries, then you establish the starting point of the work in yourself. It is this observing side that is the new point of growth in you. So try to feel the sense of I in observing I, and not in the observed side. Try to be conscious in observing I.